Hey, and welcome back to the Practical Cybersecurity Workshop for SME Leaders. It takes years to learn cybersecurity and understand all the underlying concepts to confidently navigate through it. For decades, it has been a privilege of big enterprises to have the capacity of learning and caring about what information and cybersecurity is. With the rise of the cyber attack industry, there are no longer sheltered and safe places in cyberspace for companies of any size. In fact, cyber attack industry is so big and well developed that it accommodates large bureaucratic organizations which even have their own internal help desk and support services for external customers. A hacker, we call them adversaries, buys a virus and could count on vendors' support if something is not working as expected. The industry itself is estimated a couple of trillions of dollars. It's huge. The common wrong belief is that nobody is interested in hacking an SME. The nature of cybersecurity is very well described by Tim Ferriss. If you're getting chased by a lion, you don't need to run faster than the lion, just the people running with you. There was a time when adversaries could have nearly unlimited number of victims among enterprises, where the attacks could be monetized more effectively. And with the growing cyber crime industry and improved cybersecurity practices, the things have changed. The point is that companies do not exist in the bubble and interact with each other. Each organization has partners, customers, peers, and other stakeholders. Thus, there are trusted companies in relation to other organizations. It is so much easier to hack a smaller company to break into a bigger, better protected one. This is called a supply chain attack threat. Moreover, the cybercrime industry works in a way that it first hijacks a computer and then decides what to do with it. So those who run slower than others in terms of cybersecurity are risking more. So, why SMEs often struggle to start their cybersecurity journey? In the beginning, when you start thinking about your organization's cybersecurity, it often seems to be a simple question of just buy something to close the issue. Very quickly it becomes obvious that it's not exactly like that. On opposite, cybersecurity suddenly becomes a very complicated topic. In reality, it is complex, but not so complicated. The key issue is that in cybersecurity, you need to keep moving all the pillars forward at the same time. It's not one by one or water flow approach. It's to do everything at the same time approach. 3 out of 4 SMEs say they don't have the personnel to address IT security. To be exact, 77% of respondents can get the right person in seat to handle the job. Lack of personnel even trumps the lack of budget, according to the Ponemon Institute. You're not alone. The worldwide cybersecurity talent shortage is estimated around 3.4 million of security professionals. This trend becomes bigger each year and none foresees changes for better anytime soon. This is the first reason why SME leaders need to know more about cybersecurity and be engaged to the cybersecurity activities. But it's not the only one. The second reason is the nature of cybersecurity itself. As we discussed in the beginning of the session, cybersecurity is the risk-based industry. This means that any cybersecurity risk is a business risk and could be represented as a financial, legal, reputation, or any other type of risk which you operate. Eventually, the owners of the risk are SME founders and senior management. To make wise decisions about cybersecurity, SME leaders need to understand how the mechanism works. Cybersecurity is a relatively modern term, which is used as an alternative for information security. But in reality, cybersecurity is a part of information security. Since any modern SME is empowered with IT technologies, these two terms are often used to describe the same thing. For the purpose of this video series, we'll be using cybersecurity as the main one. The objective of cybersecurity is to protect information from being stolen, compromised, or attacked. Cybersecurity can be measured by at least one of 3 goals: protect the confidentiality of the data, preserve the integrity of the data, and promote the availability of the data for authorized users. Important to understand that any kind of information always has all three attributes: confidentiality, availability, and integrity, which cumulatively are called CIA, or CAI, not to get confused with Central Intelligence Agency. If you take a piece of paper and write down a sensitive information there, then you put this note into a safe or strongbox and then drown it into the lake, the information would keep its confidentiality and integrity, but won't be available. The key goal is to develop and maintain a way of keeping the most important attributes for a particular piece of information protected. A cyber attack is not happening overnight. It is a long process of risks exploitation and could take many months and even years. There are many cyber attack stages which are described by numerous frameworks. To simplify a bit, the overall cyber attack could be split into three major stages: intrusion, capture, culmination. Intrusion consists of reconnaissance, which is using the open source and different other sources. Adversaries gather as much information as possible about the target. You would be surprised to find how much valuable information the one could gather without breaking into any protected databases, by simply surfing the web, dark web, and deep web. Adversary is not touching the IT infrastructure yet, therefore it's nearly impossible to detect such actions, although some technical instruments already available to minimize the impact. Equipping. Based on the previous step, adversaries already know what your IT infrastructure consists of, as well as people who work for you. So now it's time to prepare the tools and instruments which they would use on the following stages. They buy tools in the dark web, they develop their own software and artifacts needed for cyber attack and for the intrusion. Intrusion. This is actually the first step when the defenders could see the attacker on the company radars. The majority of conventional cybersecurity tools are designed to stop threats at this stage, but unfortunately not all threats could be stopped here. In fact, we have already lost a war for cyber attack prevention, and in most cases we fight for early prevention when the attackers are already inside. Capture is the stage when hackers are the most detectable. The first step is exploring, the noisiest part of the cyber attack. This is where we could effectively detect the actions of an adversary, since they are exploring across the infrastructure, and most of the steps could be detected as long as we monitor what happens in the infrastructure. Cyber mimicry. Mimicry is a term borrowed from biology and means an act or ability to simulate or affect the appearance of someone or something else. Essentially, after the adversary has studied the infrastructure, they try to act as if nothing wrong happens. So they could be indistinguishable from the normal infrastructure behavior patterns. Sleeper agent. Sooner or later we will find them, or they will reveal themselves, which usually means that organization would make an attempt to kick them out from the infrastructure. Why to perform all previous actions all over again? So what they do, they place backdoors, which are in the standby mode until they become needed. The last stage, culmination. This is a stage which is usually considered as the attack itself by a typical non-IT person. In reality, this is only the final step of a big operation, which includes mission accomplished, stealing data, transferring funds, or any other goal which was put, and cleanup. Adversaries do not want security experts to find out the steps, tactics which were used by attacker to achieve the goals. So they hide the tracks and trails. Usually, they encrypt the infrastructure to make the whole operation look as if it is a ransomware attack. The final takeaway in this session is that cybersecurity is a process, not a state. As an example, if you have a summer house 100 miles away from you and you put a padlock on the front door, this is not a security yet. Security would come with the surveillance camera pointed to the door, so at any given point in time you could make sure that the padlock is still in place and locked. Since cybersecurity is a process, the main goal is to achieve a sustainability of this process across your organization. A single attack could be detected, but if the organization is targeted multiple times a day, it becomes a challenge.